I think that losing interest in life is purely optional and detrimental. I think of passion actually as a survival mechanism because our attachment to life depends on our interest in it, our sense of curiosity and wonder and reverence and gratitude and participation. Not just an issue for older people. In fact, my brother Ross sent me an article not too long ago about the mother of a mutual friend of ours whose resume looks exactly like my mother's. In fact, both of them were among the first women on Wall Street. And in explaining to the interviewer her strategy for staying engaged and connected to the game, she said, well, you get up in the morning, you get out, and you stay active. Now, I know this is almost the stuff of cliche, but I think it explains a lot about why she's still in the game and going to work part-time in her mid-90s and sharp as a tack. You know what I'm saying? So obviously there's a connection, I think, between passion and productivity and success, if not longevity. There's a book out there called Corner Office, written by a New York Times columnist named Adam Bryant. And Adam interviewed 700 CEOs in the country and asked them, what qualities do you see most often in people who succeed? And number one on their collective lists, passionate curiosity. Passionate curiosity. I think this is probably what my father was trying to instill in me and my two brothers with a game that he used to play with us, his favorite game to play with us while we were growing up, something he invented called the alien game. All right? So this is the way the alien game worked. He was an alien from another planet, which we had suspected all along, frankly. And we were his guides on Earth. So we would go out into the neighborhood, into the city, down by the shore, and he would ask questions about the planet that he saw, and we had to try to explain it to him. It's a marvelous teaching tool. He'd look up into the sky and he'd say, what are the white formations that move through your atmosphere? And we'd say, he'd say, what are they composed of? And we'd say, and then he'd say, how do they get up there and what holds them up? What makes them move? So obviously it becomes apparent to us earthlings pretty quickly that the clouds are not the only things over our heads. And the afternoon would go by while we tried to figure out what holds it up. And mostly, you know, how it's possible that you can know so much and understand so little. You can live with something every day of your life and never come to understand its most basic properties. Like, why do your fingers wrinkle in the bathtub? And shouldn't we know that by now? You know, how do spiders avoid getting caught up in their own webs? And what holds clouds up if we know that water is heavier than air? Right? So this is essentially what, this notion of maintaining passionate curiosity is what the Buddhists call beginner's mind, what educators call being a lifelong learner. Right? And this is not just an issue for older people. Right? In fact, I think this is an issue that the spirit of youthfulness, if you will, is often lost on youth themselves. And I see this regularly because I go into colleges a lot, and universities, and teach callings workshops. And I see very often old people of 20. People who appear to have passed through the membrane between youth and adulthood with very little of their joie de vivre intact. They seem to have lost their spark and their initiative. They stopped demanding great things of themselves. Hell, even interesting things. And of course, some of them, many of them, are dealing with, I should say, they're frozen in the headlights of having to declare a major, figure out a career path, make a living, pay off their college loans, and figure out how they're going to get out of their parents' basement at 30. You know, and in contending with this kind of stuff, it's easy to sort of become prematurely arthritic in your outlook on life. I think they've become adulterated, unfortunately.